Princess Aria of the Valorian Empire stepped out of the sleek silver shuttle with the confidence of someone who had traveled across more than 30 star systems. Her long, bright blue cloak moved softly in the breeze of the human outpost, and her golden eyes scanned everything with calm pride. She had seen oceans that glowed in the dark, forests that whispered at night, and floating cities above nebulous storms. To her, Earth seemed simple, plain, and too quiet. She believed humans were far behind the rest of the galaxy. They looked unprepared and small compared to the grand world she came from. The human outpost was built on a grassy hill overlooking a river. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful for someone like her, who had grown up surrounded by constant political noise, royal duties, and ceremonial expectations. She came here as part of a peace exchange, one that could end years of tension between Valorians and humans. Many alien races believed humans were unpredictable, emotional, and reckless. Aria believed they were simple. She had never seen anything on Earth that proved otherwise. Her guards walked beside her, tall Valorians with silver armor and calm discipline. They followed her every step as she entered the outpost courtyard. On one side, human soldiers worked on nearby vehicles. On the other side, engineers handled machines that looked older and less advanced compared to Valorian technology. Aria kept her expression polite but unimpressed. She had tasted food from 100 worlds, starflowers from Andrelon 7, frost fruit from the Sharian Belt, fire herbs from the Terran moons. Humans, she believed, had nothing new to offer. Then she noticed a man standing near a metal cooking station. Smoke rose gently from his grill, carrying a warm, spicy scent, one she couldn't identify. He wore simple brown work clothes with a few grease stains, and his hair was messy, like he had been fixing machines before cooking. There was nothing royal or extraordinary about him. Yet he carried himself with quiet confidence, as if he knew exactly what he was doing. His name was Ethan Hale, and he was known among humans as a skilled mechanic who cooked as a hobby. But Aria didn't know that yet. She simply saw a human man cooking something in a metal pan, while several off-duty soldiers watched. The smell floated across the courtyard, and even her guards seemed curious. Aria did not like that. She folded her arms and looked away. She didn't want to admit that the aroma was warm and strangely comforting. Ethan noticed her looking. Instead of acting nervous in front of a royal alien visitor, he smiled politely and nodded once. Aria felt confused for a moment. Most species bowed to Valorians or spoke with heavy formality. But this human simply looked at her like any other person. It felt unusual and a bit bold. She approached him out of curiosity. After all, she was here to understand human culture. "What are you preparing?" she asked. "A common Earth food," Ethan replied calmly. "Sausage," Aria blinked. The word sounded almost humorous. She expected some impressive alien name, some complex dish with layers of history or rare ingredients. But this was simply sausage, a tube-shaped food made from ground ingredients. She tried not to smile in disbelief. Humans exaggerated everything, she thought. This dish couldn't possibly impress someone who had tasted the rarest flavors in the galaxy. She gave a small, amused glance to her guards. Humans are proud of everything they make, even the simplest food. Her voice was soft but full of confidence. Ethan heard her but didn't react. He kept turning the sausage on the grill, letting the spices release their aroma. The smell grew richer, deeper. The warm steam rose into the cool air, and some nearby soldiers leaned in eagerly. Aria kept trying to ignore the smell, but it found her anyway. It was smoky but not harsh, spicy but not overwhelming. Something inside her stirred with curiosity, which she quickly pushed down. She had to remain a calm and proud representative of her people. When Ethan prepared a plate and handed it to a nearby soldier, the man took a bite and smiled widely. 2 more soldiers walked over, waiting for their turn. Aria frowned. She wanted to understand what humans saw in this food. She stepped a little closer. "Humans enjoy simple things," she said in a mild tone. "Perhaps it is because your world is limited." Ethan finally looked at her again. His expression held no anger or offense. He simply shrugged. Maybe simple things are underrated. His calm answer surprised her. She expected defensiveness or embarrassment. Instead, he remained relaxed, as though he didn't need to prove anything. She studied him again. He was not tall like Valorian warriors. He didn't have psychic training or enhanced strength. He was just a human with steady hands and quiet eyes. Yet something about his calm presence made him stand out. He suddenly turned off the grill and picked up a fresh plate. "Would you like to try it?" he asked. "You can judge better after tasting." Arya lifted her chin. She did not want to encourage the idea that humans could impress her, but she also wanted to show that she was open-minded, at least formally. If she disliked the food, she could say so politely. That would be a simple end to the matter. Her guard stepped closer as Ethan placed a perfectly cooked sausage on the plate and handed it to her. Arya accepted it carefully. The warmth reached her fingers through the plate, and the smell was even stronger now. She reminded herself that she came from a culture of high dignity. She had tasted royal feasts, sacred dishes, and rare ingredients grown under artificial suns. Humans could not reach that level. She placed a small bite in her mouth, prepared to dislike it. The moment the flavor touched her tongue, her expression changed. The spices awakened her senses. The taste was rich, layered, and surprisingly deep. The warmth spread inside her chest like gentle fire. The seasoning blended in a way she had never encountered. She blinked slowly, confused by the unexpected pleasure of the flavor. Her guards watched in silence, waiting for her reaction. Arya took another bite, then another. Her pride tried to resist, but the food pulled her in. She didn't understand how humans, with their limited technology and simple tools, created something so powerful and comforting. It was not a royal dish, not a complex feast, but it carried something deeper. Something emotional, almost like a story hidden in spices. She looked up at Ethan, her voice softer than before. "How did humans create this?" "This should not be possible," Ethan explained in a steady, calm way. He told her how humans learned to survive harsh times by creating food that brought people together. How they used every ingredient they had, how they built flavor from simple things, how they experimented again and again until they found something meaningful. Arya listened quietly. For the first time, she wondered if she had misunderstood humanity. Humans did not just cook food. They put history, hardship, and heart into everything. Maybe Earth was not as simple as she believed. When she finished the last bite, she felt something new. Respect, curiosity, and a small spark of surprise. She looked at Ethan again, realizing that this one human had changed her first impression of the entire species, and this was only the beginning. Arya never expected a simple human dish to shake her confidence, but the taste stayed in her mind long after she left the courtyard. As she walked through the outpost with her guard, she kept replaying the moment when the flavor spread through her senses. It bothered her in a strange way, not because the food was bad, but because it was good. So good that she couldn't understand how humans made it. She had judged them too quickly. She knew it. But admitting that felt difficult. Her guards walked quietly behind her. They had also seen her surprised expression when she tasted the sausage. Valorians rarely showed emotion over something as simple as food. Their culture taught them to remain calm, polite, and collected. Arya felt embarrassed knowing her guards had watched her lose that control for a brief moment. She tried to focus on the peace mission. It was important. Many worlds watched these meetings closely. The humans wanted stronger trade alliances. The Valorians wanted shared scientific data. Both sides hoped for trust. But complicated matters always made Arya feel heavy. She preferred exploring and learning about new things instead of dealing with political pressure. As she passed through the outpost halls, she saw many humans working with quiet determination. Engineers fixed machines, scientists studied data on screens, soldiers trained in the courtyard, and medical staff moved quickly between rooms. They all seemed busy, focused, and quietly proud of their work. She began realizing something she once ignored. Humans were not slow or simple. They were determined. They worked with intensity even when their tools seemed basic compared to Valorian standards. She kept walking until she reached a small observation deck that overlooked the grassy valley. The river below reflected the sunlight, sparkling like the crystals on her homeworld. The peaceful scene calmed her thoughts. She sat on a bench while her guards stood nearby, watching everything with alert eyes. Arya took a deep breath, trying to clear her mind. She reminded herself that she was here to learn from humans, not judge them, yet her pride still felt bruised. She had been certain Earth had nothing to surprise her with. And then a mechanic chef, someone she had never heard of, proved her wrong with just one dish. The worst part was how calmly he did it. Ethan Hale didn't show off. He didn't brag. He didn't try to impress her. He simply cooked, His confidence was natural, steady, and quiet. She found herself thinking about his expression: calm eyes, relaxed posture, steady movements. He wasn't trying to be extraordinary, yet somehow he felt like he was. That confused her more than the food. After resting for a moment, she stood up again. "We should return to the main hall," she said softly. The guards nodded and followed her. The hall was filled with different species: diplomats, soldiers, engineers, and cultural representatives. Humans moved among them with open friendliness, offering assistance or answering questions. Arya noticed something else. Humans were not afraid of aliens. They welcomed them without hesitation. That was unusual. Most species approached Valorians with caution or nervousness. But humans treated everyone like equals. Arya's curiosity kept growing. She found herself wondering how humans developed such a bold attitude. They were physically weaker than many species. Their technology was behind. Their world was not as advanced. Yet they carried themselves with strength in a different way. Not through power, but through spirit. She kept walking through the hall until she reached a table filled with different Earth foods, prepared for the alien guests. Many visitors tried the dishes with interest. Arya saw the same mechanic chef, Ethan Hale, standing behind the table, explaining the names of each dish. He didn't notice her at first, so she simply watched him. She observed how he talked with a calm, friendly tone. He explained how each dish came from different parts of Earth, how people learned to cook during difficult times, and how food played a huge role in human survival. He spoke not like a scientist or a royal expert, but like someone who understood the value of simple things. Arya stepped closer, and this time he noticed her. He gave another small nod of respect. She tried to read his expression, but it remained calm as always. "You helped prepare all of these?" she asked, pretending to sound formal. "Most of them," Ethan replied. "Some are from my team. We wanted to show a little of everything from Earth." Arya looked at the variety of dishes. Some she recognized, many she didn't. The colors were vibrant, the smells strong, the shapes diverse. Humans didn't cook with elegance like Valorians. They cooked with heart. The more she thought about it, the more she felt drawn in. A Valorian scientific representative walked up to the table and whispered to Arya, "Princess, the human foods contain too many mixed spices and inconsistent textures. They lack the balance required for refined taste." Arya nodded politely. That was the traditional Valorian view. Food should be balanced, controlled, and predictable. For years, Arya believed the same. But after tasting the sausage, she realized that humans didn't follow those rules. Their food told a story. It carried emotions, memories, and history. Ethan watched her reaction quietly. He didn't rush her. He didn't pressure her to try more food. He simply waited. That too impressed her. Many species would try hard to impress a Valorian princess, but Ethan didn't. He stood there with patience, letting her decide. She looked around the hall again. People from different worlds tasted human food and exchanged surprised comments. A Silurian warrior, known for having strong taste senses, nodded in approval. A small Anvori child giggled after trying a sweet pastry. Even a stern-looking Turok's officer seemed impressed by a spicy dish. Humans were winning hearts with their food. Not through force, not through advanced technology, but through something warm and simple. Arya found herself wanting to say something to Ethan, but she hesitated. She didn't want to sound overly impressed. She was still a princess. She had to maintain dignity, but then Ethan spoke first. "You seem thoughtful," he said gently. She turned toward him. "I am reconsidering my earlier opinion," she admitted softly. That was the closest she could come to admitting she was impressed. Ethan gave a small smile. "That's the nice thing about trying new things. They teach us something." His words felt simple, but they carried weight. Arya realized he wasn't just talking about food. He was talking about her mindset, about her view of humanity, about the entire peace mission. Before she could reply, a sudden alarm echoed through the hall. Everyone stopped. Lights flashed red. Human soldiers rushed toward the doors, pushing guests away from danger. Arya stepped back as her guards moved in front of her, ready to protect her. "What's happening?" Arya demanded. A human officer ran toward the center hall and shouted, "The Karnix raiders! They're attacking the communications tower. They're trying to sabotage the peace mission." Arya felt a sharp jolt in her chest. The Karnix raiders were known across the galaxy as a ruthless rogue faction. They hated alliances. They hated peace. and now they were here. Her guards formed a protective circle around her. Human soldiers spread out quickly, taking defensive positions. Engineers sealed doors. Scientists hid behind pillars. But Ethan didn't hide. He stepped forward, calm like before, but now more focused. He looked toward the main entrance, his eyes narrowing slightly. Arya watched him carefully. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but maybe that unpredictability came with courage. She had no idea what would happen next. But she knew one thing for certain. This peaceful mission had suddenly become dangerous. And Ethan Hale, the quiet human mechanic who had already surprised her once, might surprise her again in ways she could not yet imagine. The alarms continued to echo through the outpost, growing louder and sharper with every passing second. Arya felt her heartbeat quicken as red emergency lights flashed across the ceiling. Her guards moved instantly, forming a tight protective circle around her. Their armor glowed faintly as they activated defensive shields. They stood ready for anything, but Arya knew even they could not stop a full-scale Karnix attack alone. Humans rushed into action with surprising speed. Soldiers grabbed their rifles. Engineers sealed compartments and medical teams prepared emergency stations. None of them panicked. They moved with purpose, discipline, and quiet bravery. Arya had seen many species react to danger before, but humans had a different energy. They didn't freeze. They didn't hesitate. They rose to the challenge like it was part of their nature. Ethan Hale stood near the food table when the alarm started. But unlike many others, he didn't run or hide. He stayed calm, studying the situation with a focused expression Arya had not seen on him before. He looked like a different person, still quiet, still steady, but sharper, alert, ready to act. A human officer rushed in and pointed toward the western hall. The Karnix raiders landed near the communications tower. They're trying to cut us off from the orbiting fleet. If they succeed, they can take hostages and stop the peace mission. Arya felt a chill run through her. If the communication tower fell, no one could call for reinforcements. The outpost would become a trap. Her guards moved to escort her toward a safe room, but the path was blocked by frightened alien visitors and rushing humans. The hallways grew crowded and chaotic. Arya tried to stay calm, but she knew the situation was serious. Ethan walked past a group of soldiers and grabbed a small toolkit from a nearby shelf. He didn't look scared. He looked determined. Arya's curiosity overcame her fear. "Where are you going?" she asked, stepping slightly out of her protective circle. He looked back at her briefly. "There's a maintenance tunnel under the tower. I know every path there. If the soldiers can reach it, they can stop the Karnix before they break the main door." Arya's guards frowned. This human is a mechanic. He does not need to risk his life. But Ethan shook his head. "If that tower goes offline, everyone here is in danger, including your princess." Arya felt a strange warmth in her chest, something between surprise and admiration. Humans weren't just brave. They were brave for others, even strangers. Ethan could have run for safety. Instead, he chose to help. The outpost commander shouted for volunteers who knew the lower tunnels. Ethan stepped forward without hesitation. Arya stepped closer, realizing something important. "Let me come with you," she said. Her guards immediately objected. "Princess, it is too dangerous." But Arya stood firm. "I am not helpless. I can assist with guidance and communication, and I want to understand humans fully, not from a safe room." Her guards exchanged looks, torn between duty and her command. Finally, one of them nodded reluctantly. "Then we will go with you." Ethan didn't argue. He simply turned toward a side corridor and motioned for them to follow. They moved quickly through the hallway until they reached a small metal door. Ethan typed a code into the panel, and it slid open to reveal a narrow stairway leading down. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. Pipes hummed overhead. The tunnels were dim, with only emergency lights glowing a soft blue along the walls. Arya felt the tension rising, but she kept walking. At the bottom, Ethan stopped and listened carefully. Distant sounds echoed. Metal hitting metal, muffled voices, and faint, heavy footsteps. "They're close," he whispered. Arya's guards prepared their weapons. But Ethan reached into his toolkit and pulled out something simple. A wrench, a small laser cutter, and a compact tool used for fixing engines. He carried no armor, no high-tech weapon, no shield. Yet he walked forward with quiet confidence. Arya noticed how steady his breathing remained. Even her own breaths were quicker, sharper. But Ethan, he was like a calm river, deep and quiet but strong. They reached a junction where the tunnel split into two paths. Ethan knelt beside a panel and quickly removed its cover. Inside were colored wires running in different directions. Arya watched him, fascinated. "What are you doing?" "This tunnel controls power to the outer doors," Ethan explained. "If I reroute it, we can slow the Karnix's progress. Buy the soldiers time." His hands moved quickly, almost too quickly for her to follow. He worked with the precision of someone who had spent years repairing systems that were always breaking. His focus was intense, but his expression remained calm. Arya felt something shift inside her. She had always respected intelligence and skill, but she had never seen a human display such mastery so effortlessly. Ethan didn't brag or explain too much. He simply acted as if solving problems under pressure was second nature. A deep boom echoed through the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Arya's guard stepped in front of her instantly. Ethan looked toward the sound, his jaw tightening. "They've reached the tower door," he said. "We're running out of time." He closed the panel and led them quickly through the left corridor. The tunnel grew narrower. The sounds of battle grew closer. Blaster shots, shouts, metal scraping. They reached a small service grate. Ethan crouched and peered through it. Arya joined him silently. Through the grate, they saw the base of the communication tower. Karnix raiders, tall, armored, and aggressive, were trying to cut through the main door. Sparks exploded as they used heavy tools. Human soldiers held defensive positions behind crates, trading fire with the attackers. The situation looked grim. The raiders were strong and heavily equipped. The humans were outnumbered. Arya felt fear grip her chest. "We must help them," Ethan nodded. "We will." But he didn't try to fight the raiders head-on. Instead, he pointed toward a control box near the ceiling of the tower room. "That box routes power to their cutting tools. If we disable it, they'll lose their biggest advantage." Arya frowned. "But it is too high. No one can reach it from here." Ethan smiled faintly. "From here?" "No, but from the vent above it." He pointed upward. A small vent shaft led to the ceiling. Arya stared at him. "You plan to climb through that?" "It's narrow, but I'll fit. I've used it before for repairs." Her guards protested immediately. "This is too dangerous for one human." Ethan didn't argue. He simply said, "If someone doesn't do it, everyone out there will suffer, including her." He didn't even look at Arya when he said it, which somehow made it more sincere. Before she could reply, he grabbed the edge of the vent and pulled himself up. His movement was quick and practiced. He disappeared inside with barely a sound. Arya held her breath as she watched him crawl through the narrow shaft with quiet determination. Minutes passed painfully slowly. The battle outside grew louder. Sparks flew from the door as the raiders attacked it harder. Human soldiers shouted for backup, then suddenly the power box exploded in a bright flash. The raiders' cutting tools died instantly. Human soldiers shouted triumphantly and rushed forward with renewed energy. From the vent above, Ethan dropped down behind a stack of crates. He rolled, stood up, and waved for the soldiers to advance. Arya felt a wave of relief wash over her. He was safe, but her relief didn't last. One of the raiders spotted Ethan and charged toward him. Arya gasped. Ethan had no weapon. He braced himself, ready to dodge, but the raider was too large, too fast. Her guards wanted to rush in, but they were too far away. Arya's heart pounded painfully. She felt helpless. But at the very last moment, a human soldier jumped in front of Ethan, blocking the raider's strike with his shield. More soldiers arrived and pushed the raider back. Ethan stumbled but remained on his feet. He looked up toward the vent grate where Arya was watching. Their eyes met for a brief moment. He gave her a small, tired smile, calm, steady, unshaken. At that moment, Arya understood something deeper than before. Humans were not extraordinary because of their weapons or their technology. They were extraordinary because they refused to give up. In the face of danger, they stood tall. In fear, they acted. In uncertainty, they tried. And Ethan Hale was the perfect example of that human spirit. Arya felt her breath catch as she whispered to herself, "This human is unlike anyone I have ever met." And she knew this was only the beginning of her understanding of humanity's strength. The battle at the communication tower slowly calmed as the last few Karnix raiders were pushed back. Human soldiers secured the area, their breaths heavy but their spirits strong. The emergency alarm still echoed faintly through the outpost, but the danger had passed. Arya remained behind the service grate, watching with wide eyes as humans worked together to make sure everyone was safe. Her guards finally escorted her out of the maintenance tunnel and into the main hall. The red lights dimmed, switching back to steady white as the outpost returned to normal power. The air felt thick with the scent of smoke, dust, and adrenaline. Arya kept looking around, searching for Ethan, unable to rest until she saw him again. She finally spotted him near the base of the tower, standing with a group of soldiers. His clothes were smudged with dust and grease, and his hair was more disordered than before. Yet he looked calm, steady, and quietly proud. When he noticed Arya watching him, he gave her a small nod, as if assuring her everything was all right. Arya walked toward him, her guards following closely. She stopped a few steps away, unsure how to begin. She had never struggled with words before. She was trained since childhood in diplomacy, speeches, and leadership. Yet now, in front of one human mechanic who had surprised her again and again, she found herself almost speechless. Ethan looked at her closely, reading her expression. "You're safe," he said softly. "That's what matters." Her voice came after a moment. "You risked your life twice," he shrugged lightly. "Other people risked theirs too. We're a team here." Arya shook her head. "You climbed into a vent with raiders below you. You redirected power under pressure. You faced danger without any armor. Why?" Ethan took a breath and spoke in the plain, honest way he always did. "Because it had to be done. And because people needed help." Arya studied him carefully. She didn't understand how someone without special training or enhanced genetic abilities could show such fearlessness. On her world, courage was measured through rituals and tests. Here, courage appeared naturally, almost casually, in people like Ethan. Before she could speak again, the outpost commander stepped forward, saluting Ethan. "Hail, your actions saved the tower. You prevented a complete communication collapse. You saved lives today." Ethan nodded, but he didn't smile with pride or show off. He simply accepted the acknowledgement with quiet humility. The commander then turned to Arya and bowed respectfully. "Princess, we apologize for the danger you experienced. The Karnix raiders targeted the tower to break the peace mission. We are grateful for your patience and bravery." Arya lifted her chin. "I was not the brave one today. Your people were." Her guards exchanged surprised looks. They had never heard her speak so openly about another species with such respect. The commander gave a relieved smile. "We are honored, Princess, and we will ensure your safety until the fleet arrives." When the commander left, Ethan finally walked toward Arya, stopping only when he was close enough for her to see the small cut on his cheek. It wasn't deep, but it reminded her how close he had come to danger. "You're injured," she said softly. "Nothing serious," he replied. "It'll heal fast." Arya hesitated, then gently reached for a small glowing patch from her belt. It was a Valorian healing strip. She stepped closer and placed it on his cheek. The light pulsed softly as it began healing the cut. Ethan looked surprised. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," she said quietly. For a moment, they simply stood there, the noise of the recovering outpost fading behind them. Arya felt something unusual, peace. Not the formal peace written in treaties or agreements, but a simple human feeling she had rarely experienced. Something warm, honest, and grounding. Soon after, an announcement echoed through the hall. The Valorian diplomatic fleet had arrived in orbit. Rescue teams landed near the outpost, and representatives spread out to check on their princess. Arya's advisors hurried to her, relieved and anxious. "Princess, thank the stars you are unharmed. We must escort you to the command shuttle at once." Arya looked at her guards, then at Ethan. Her advisors continued speaking rapidly. "This planet is unsafe. You must leave immediately. We will file a complaint to the Galactic Council. You should not remain here any longer." Arya raised her hand, silencing them. She turned toward Ethan again, meeting his eyes. "I am not leaving until I give proper recognition," she said firmly. Her advisors froze. The soldiers paused. Even the outpost staff looked confused. Arya stepped forward, facing the crowds that had gathered in the hall. She spoke clearly, her voice echoing across the room. "Today I came to Earth with pride in my culture and certainty in my superiority. I believed humans were simple and ordinary. I believed they had little to offer the galaxy." The hall became silent. Arya continued, her voice stronger. "But I was wrong." Her words carried weight. Valorians rarely admitted mistakes, especially publicly. This outpost was attacked, and who stood in front to protect us? Humans. These brave soldiers didn't hesitate. Your engineers, medics, and workers all worked together. And one mechanic, Ethan Hale, risked his life not once, but multiple times to protect everyone. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, but Arya ignored it. His courage was not loud. His bravery was not dramatic. It was quiet, steady, and true. That is real strength. The humans looked at her with pride and surprise. Many aliens listened carefully, realizing they were witnessing something historic. Arya took a slow breath. I will report to the Valorian Council that humans are not simple. They are not ordinary. They are a species with heart, determination, and unexpected brilliance. She then turned slightly, looking directly at Ethan. And sometimes, greatness hides in the most unassuming person. The hall erupted into applause, humans cheering, aliens nodding, even her guards quietly agreeing. Ethan lowered his eyes modestly, almost overwhelmed. He never asked for praise, yet he received it from someone who once doubted him. After the applause settled, Arya walked closer to Ethan. The hall's attention remained fixed on them. You changed my perspective, she said softly. You taught me more in one day than diplomacy taught me in years. He smiled gently. All I did was try to help. That is what makes it extraordinary, she replied. Her shuttle crew waited nearby. It was time for her to leave. But she felt reluctant. The outpost didn't feel like a foreign place anymore. It felt grounded, honest, real. Something inside her didn't want to say goodbye. Ethan seemed to sense it. You'll be back, he said in his simple, confident way. This mission isn't finished. Peace takes time. She nodded slowly. Yes, I believe you are right. Arya stepped backward toward the shuttle, her eyes still on Ethan. Her guards followed and her advisors hurried beside her. The shuttle door opened, filling the room with soft blue light. Just before she stepped inside, she looked back one last time. Ethan stood exactly where she left him, calm and steady as always. She gave him a small, graceful nod, one that carried more meaning than any formal farewell. Ethan lifted his hand in a simple wave. No ceremony, no formality, just sincerity. And as the shuttle rose into the sky, Arya felt certain of one thing. This human, this quiet mechanic, had changed her understanding of an entire species, and the galaxy would soon learn what she already knew. Humans were far more remarkable than anyone believed.